Hi, everyone. Welcome to the House Democratic Caucus. Thank you. I know many of you are probably starving, so we are going to try and move this along. So we have 4 things on the agenda today, and we're going to start with Representative Kornheiser on the U bill. Thanks.
Hey, I'm Emily Kornheiser, representative from Brattleboro, chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, here to talk about our annual yield bill. This bill is scheduled for a vote in Ways and Means on Friday. One of the funny things about the yield bill is that it's often just like 4 sentences long. And so the actual language of the bill is not posted on our committee page because we have been working on it since the very first week of the session. And so if folks want to look at some of the history of the yield bill and sort of where we are and the scenarios we've been working through, you can go to our committee page. Every Tuesday, we have essentially the same agenda over and over again, where we hear from the Agency of Education on where school spending is coming in. And then we talk to Julia Richter at the Joint Fiscal Office about essentially how that math shakes out for tax rates for the year. We are right now working through a few different scenarios. We have narrowed our work. And we are looking at taking the general fund transfer that was in the governor's proposed budget and using a little more than $100 million to transfer into the education fund on a 1-year basis. And then we're looking at spending that money in 3 different ways. One of the ways is to spend it all this year to bring down property taxes this upcoming year for FY27. That would be your property tax bill that you get in the mail in July. If we do that, we would see a very extreme December 1st letter next year, since that is just one-time money we would be moving over. And so that would mean that we would see a huge change in the following fiscal year for our property tax bills. And if there's anything that your Ways and Means Committee cares about, as much as we care about making sure that Vermont is affordable, it's making sure that our property taxes, or all of our taxes, are consistent and reliable and predictable for people. And so those are 2 real clear goals of ours that are in a little bit of conflict. The 2 other scenarios we're looking at is spending 1/3 of that this year to lower property taxes on a 1-year basis, and then saving 2/3 of that money in an education fund tax rate offset reserve, so that we could have 2 more years of general fund money to offset our property taxes, sort of on a third basis. And then the last scenario that we're going to talk about today is sort of splitting the difference on the 2, which is we put 50% of that money aside and spend 50% of that now. And so that's something we'll be talking about this afternoon. Just wanted to keep you apprised of sort of where we are in our process. It is the table to really understand our debate looks like this. It's under Julia Richter's name, under the yield bill on our committee page, and there's always a second document that's called the annotated outlook that is a little reading guide for if you want to know what all the rows and columns means. The actual legislative language, again, probably wouldn't be posted until Thursday because it's less consequential than this funny table. So that is what I wanted to tell you.
Any questions?
I hold this.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper, Paul, representative of Space One District. What I had to do with the scenario that you just mentioned, would the any set aside for future years be marked for that, or would that also be subject to a future legislation's decision making around unspent funds?
So yes and yes. So it would be set aside in a education fund tax rate offset reserve. It would be within the education fund, so it would not be subject to all of the same sort of waterfall end of year money that happens when we leave money in the general fund or put money aside in the general fund. And historically, when we do that, we do tend to follow through on what we've done and use that tax rate offset reserve money for tax rate offsetting. And we, every legislature gets to do what it does. But That would generally, when we do that, it is much more designated than just sort of like floating money.
Any other questions? Great.
Please be in touch with anyone on the committee with questions, thoughts, all those things. Thanks.
Thank you. And I started so fast, I think I forgot to say, welcome to the House Democratic Caucus. It is Tuesday, March 17th, and my name is Representative Houghton, and I represent Essex Junction. So we have 3 more bills we're trying to get through before 1:45. So we're gonna see if we can do this. So up next is Rep. Sibilia and Rep. James, maybe? Yep. Coming up to talk about H 740.
Thanks, everybody. I'm Rep. Kathleen James from Manchester, Chair of House Energy and Digital Infrastructure. And just wanted to take a quick sec to introduce Rep. Sibilia, who first started talking to me about her deep interest in doing a data center bill this past summer. And she's been working very, very hard on it ever since. And it pretty quickly emerged as one of our committee's top priorities. And Laura will walk you through the bill, but I just wanted to tell folks that we voted it out unanimously. I'm really proud of the work that our committee did. It is, I believe, having a quick stop in Ways and Means. And we also were really thankful that our colleagues on House Environment took such a careful look at the bill, and we were able to incorporate I believe all of their suggestions, and you will see that reflected in the bill as well. So over to the bill sponsor and floor reporter, Rep. Sibilia.
Okay. Apparently a tree branch is about to fall on my car.
Oh,
We'll make this
no.
fast. So really quickly, this bill caught my attention because I am regularly paying attention to electric rates and how much power we have and the stability of our system. And to the south of us in the mid-Atlantic, we have seen really an explosion of data centers, and we're seeing that now across the country. And it's having some pretty profound impacts. So I think our approach, and our chair will correct me if I'm wrong, but we wanted to set this down and imagine what would happen if a data center came into Vermont. How would it interact with our existing laws? We have pretty strong environmental protection laws. We have pretty strong regulatory laws for energy. And I think generally we found we had a lot of protection. There were some gaps that we found. Very quickly, I will say that in this bill, we define the data center, and we will require, if a data center comes in, rather than getting a CPG, that they get a certificate of public good, that they get large load equity and contract, which they will negotiate with the utility, but which the PUC has to sign off on, and they have to find that that contract is in the best interest of Vermont. And it's required that costs associated with connecting to the grid, any electric costs have to be mitigated as a part of that contract. In addition, we have required that if you are constructing a data center, you would need to bring in Efficiency Vermont at the front end to look at how efficient that system would be. In addition to using a lot of power, they have the potential to use a lot of water. Water was a very big issue across the board in our committee. We are also requiring them to report on the amount of power and water that they are using. There's a lot of, there's not a lot of transparency about that in a lot of other states in terms of data center resource use. We have asked we've given the commission rulemaking power should they find that they need additional rules to implement this. We have moved the definition of a data center into the definition of development. So it's under Act 250 and will be subject to all the criteria there. We are requiring a number of different water permits, including a closed loop cooling system, if possible. So that will use somewhere between 70 and 80% less water. There's potential for some toxicity there, which will have to be mitigated. We're thinking about discharge. And right now, moving through these pieces really quickly. Water quality. Yes, so two gaps that we found. One is these data centers are having really a profound impact on the energy markets. And so we are asking for a report from the PUC on the condition of the renewable energy markets in particular. And we had, in terms of decommissioning, our committee felt this was really important. And what we had happen in our committee was everyone point across the table, our stakeholders, to say it's their job, it's their job, it's their job, it's their job. So it's not clearly anyone's job. So we've asked a number of different agencies to come back with a recommendation to us on that. And I think that is really it. Did I miss anything large, Madam Chair?
I don't think so. I mean, that bifurcation between the PUC reviewing the very specific contract between the data center and the utility, that's the kind of ratepayer transmission stuff. And then all of the things that we care about so much with land use and water and siting and noise and air and toxics, that becomes Act 250 and A&R. So there's this kind of dual jurisdiction that guarantees that we're not missing anything if and when one of these tries to build here.
Any questions?
Holly, great bill.
A lot of work.
What I can't, maybe it's in there, I just couldn't tell. In a lot of states, the effect of the data center, whether direct or indirect through energy markets, is to drive up the price of power for consumers. Does this bill require that we determine what the marginal cost of the consumer is and that they pay it, that the data center pays it? Does it internalize in some ways to the data center the cost of the power?
There's a lot of latitude here for the PUC to look at the overall effect that this is having to the cost of energy, and to require that be part of the contract with the utility. I will find the exact language.
But it's left to the PUC.
It is left to the PUC. Any other questions?
Great, thank you. I hope your car is okay. Great, I guess one question. When's it on the floor? Answer this.
I think it might be Friday, Tuesday. Ways and Means is voting it out today, I think. So then that makes maybe Thursday, Friday.
Okay, we'll get clarification
Sorry,
on that.
Thursday, Friday.
Too. Sorry, I have written that somewhere. So if you have any questions, please reach out to someone on the committee. So next we're gonna go to H606. Thank you. Hi everyone, Angela Arsenault, representative from Williston, to talk quickly about H606, which is an act related to firearms procedures. So this bill came to us. We started work on it last week in an already trimmed down version from the as introduced version. So what we're left with is primarily three provisions. This bill accomplishes three things that really are targeted at specific public safety needs. So first,
We are adding theft of a firearm to the grand larceny statute. I know we've talked about this before, but as a refresher, currently, a felony is only charged when the value of the goods stolen is over $900. In this case, we're saying no matter what the monetary value of the firearm, if it is stolen, the person who stole it can be charged with a felony crime, grand larceny, which is punishable by 10 years, no more than 10 years, and not more than $5,000 for both. Second, we're looking at our prohibited persons statute. So already in Vermont, and you may be aware, in this country, based on federal law, there is actually quite an extensive list of persons, individuals who are prohibited from possessing firearms. We here in Vermont, our list is smaller than, they're shorter, more limited than the federal government's list, and we are sort of borrowing from, but narrowing again, the federal regulations on people who are determined by the court to be in need of treatment. So determined by the court to be a danger to themselves or others based on a mental illness. And we were careful, I know Representative Chairwoman worked with Representative Donahue to select just the right language that would make it very clear that for folks who are on an order of hospitalization or non-hospitalization, which means you are ordered by the court to get treatment, hospitalization in a hospital, in a facility, non-hospitalization means you're getting treatment in the community. But not supervised treatment, let's be clear. While you're a subject of either of those types of orders, you're prohibited from owning a firearm, but as soon as the order expires, the prohibition also expires. There isn't a process that you have to go through to get your rights back. It is automatic. We did, however, also include a process by which people can petition the court to be relieved of the disability of possession rights. And this would also apply to people who are found to be not guilty by reason of insanity or not competent to stand trial.
Me?
Then we'll get into essentially the final section, there are 4 sections, but is the machine gun prohibition. So similar to what I was just talking about, the machine guns are already illegal in the United States. They're not yet illegal through state statutes. There is a process, again, a process through which you may acquire a legal machine gun and register it, but it's a very lengthy, I think, and onerous process by design. That again is at the federal level. We're not instituting something similar here. We're just saying machine guns are prohibited. And this prohibition, it's if you recall, 2018, I believe, we banned bump stocks in the state of Vermont. So this section is being added to that section of statute. So bump stocks and machine guns would be prohibited. We use the federal definition of machine gun, which is any weapon that shoots, is designed to shoot, or can be readily restored to shoot automatically more than one shot without manual reloading by a single function of the trigger. So this means that by this definition, devices that turn a gun, a non-machine gun, into a machine gun are also prohibited. And these are commonly known as lock switches or auto sears. And as we said before, this is a prohibition that exists at the federal level and in many states and is supported by gun manufacturer Glock, the namesake auto switch. I was going to say one other thing. Oh, we, again, we narrowed this provision down. We did also include originally rapid fire devices, other types of rapid fire devices. There was some concern on the part of some witnesses and gun rights advocates that it would be too confusing perhaps for state prosecutors to really understand the mechanism and the definition. And so we got rid of rapid fire devices and we're narrowing in on machine guns and switches or devices that essentially turn any gun into a machine gun. That's the bill.
Questions?
Just demonstrating my probably lack of understanding. What's the difference between a machine gun and like an assault or semi-assault weapon?
The automatic, I'm gonna also look to Martin for this, because he's paying such close attention to this information that I'm sharing, that my understanding is that a machine gun is a fully automatic weapon, whereas an AR-15 or other things that we've heard of that are semi-automatic require more than one.
More than, oh, I don't know.
Oh,
Wow, that was like, that's interesting.
The fully automatic, you only have to press the trigger once, and keep shooting, semi-automatic, you know, be pressing it, but there are other devices that make that action of trigger fingering the device very quickly. That's the rapid fire devices, which are not included in this, but that's the difference.
I have it. I did.
And it's on the floor tomorrow?
It's on the board tomorrow. I mean, if we're getting through 20 bills tomorrow, it's on the board tomorrow.
I looked at
We're all for that.
Great, thank you. And last but not least, H211, which is data privacy and personal information. Data brokers, data brokers.
Yeah, hi, everybody. So H211, so this is in 2018, Vermont passed the first data broker registry bill in the country. So data brokers are third, basically entities that consumers don't have a direct relationship with. So a third party that is selling our data. And so we are, since the bill hasn't been updated since 2018, or the policy, we made some updates to registration fees, delinquency fees, things like that. We also updated the definition of what a data broker is and a few subsequent kind of reliance definitions as well, to just catch up to the tech. We originally, so it's termed more friendly, or whatever, the Delete Act, words, making up words. The Delete Act, so the Delete Act, like in California and other states, Delete Act in California created a mechanism, a portal for people to be able to go to see all the brokers and then be able to say like, I don't want my information, I want my information deleted from all these players. In our case, the Secretary of State wanted more time to be able to look into options for what that would look like, how much it would cost, vendors they could work with, that kind of stuff, and also to learn from California's experience because it just went live January 1st. And so as a kind of a midpoint, we turned the deletion mechanism portal itself into a study, but then we gave Vermonters the right to request their deleted, the right to be deleted, which is something that we don't have yet because we don't have the comprehensive privacy bill. So there is more of a kind of a manual process in the meantime of waiting for this portal to be studied. And it is likely to hit the floor next week, probably, because it has to go to Ways and Means, which is on Thursday, and then appropriations to fund the study.
And what was the vote?
Oh, and the vote out of committee, sorry, was a 9-0. Oh, friendly fire.
Katie Brandon from Jericho. Can anyone delete any information about themselves anywhere? Are there
That's a really broad question. No one can currently request that their data be deleted from any we have no right to be deleted from any organization kind of in the tech space right now as it is.
And if the bill passes?
If the bill passes,
Limitations on data.
yeah, consumers can, I'm trying to write that politics line. Consumers can request with this that they be deleted from data brokers. There are exemptions for from the rights to be deleted that include things like fair credit data that's required for the complying with the Fair Credit Reporting Act, complying with state and federal laws, the ability for like banks and insurance companies and other entities to do identity verification checks, fraud prevention checks, that kind of stuff. Thanks.
Any other questions? There'll be more. We'll make sure before next week we talk about this again. I know that was rushed. Thank you, Monique. Just two quick announcements. Just a reminder, floor starts tomorrow at 1 and Thursday at 1, and that's the schedule for the rest of the year. We do have a lot on the floor tomorrow, so expect a later night, maybe not. And judicial retention is next Wednesday, March 25th at 10:30. It will be a joint assembly. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Have a great rest of the week.